Hey everybody, thanks for coming. You say you've got a heavy heart. You say you've got a heavy heart. You say you've got a heavy heart. It's hard for you to start carrying your heavy old heart. You say you've got a heavy load. You say you've got a heavy load. You say you've got a heavy load. Walking down the road, carrying your heavy old heart. And you sure don't know where you're going. You sure don't know where you're going. You sure don't know where you're going. But I say that the sun don't know when it's glowing. A flower don't know when it's growing. A river don't know when it's flowing. You're doing better than you know. You're doing better than you know. This one goes out to anybody who might have a birthday coming up this weekend. One, two, 1, 2, It would sure be nice to be at my own funeral to see who made it. People should have funerals while they all can still appreciate it. Keep it normal, nothing formal. Why should someone have to put a suit on? So please throw me a funeral one day a year. I'll lie here on the futon. I hope you can make it on Friday. And I know it's short notice. And I know I always do this. But you're invited to my birthday party. Ain't no one gonna throw it for me. Why should I expect things just to happen? That's what any holiday's about. If it's blank, you just get out what you put back in. If you don't decorate the scene on May Day or on Halloween, there's nothing. So let's pretend to fake it and make it up. It's the only way we might end up with something. So I hope you can make it on Friday. And I know it's short notice. And I know I always do do this, but you're invited to my birthday party. So can I find a little group, or am I so out of the loop with these gadgets? Old addresses that get bounced, strange voicemails that just announce the digits. Emails I've not written back, I regret it now, I'm losing track of all you. Who's even left, who's still a friend? Did I wait too long again to call you? Now I hope someone can make it on Friday. And I know it's short notice. And I know I always do this, but you're invited to my birthday party. I'll try to make my house a home. I'll try to not just be alone. I need to, or else I might just disappear. I'm fading out with every year, but I don't mean to. I'm back in town, I didn't ring. I guess that's just the sort of thing folks like me do. My life gets full of other stuff. Is it wrong now getting back in touch when I need you? Now I hope anyone can make it on a Friday. And I know it's short notice. And I know I always do this, but you're invited to my birthday party. Thanks. We're Jeffrey Lewis and those bolts. What if I get a little more vocal in the monitor? And that's Mem, that's Brent, I'm Jeffrey. And this is a song about a guy I know back home in New York City. This is called Scowling Crackhead Ian. Scowling Crackhead Ian, I can't forget your face. You were a foul human being, way back on St. Mark's Place. A white thug when we were both poor, a life struggling for 1/4 more. In 6th grade, that's what you'd mug me for, a switchblade pressed up to my jugular. So I feared for my neck, safe streets were few. My nerves grew wrecked near to 2nd Avenue. I soon learned how to steer clear of a crook or a crew. And now I'm still here, and look, so are you. Forever you've been Crackhead Ian. It was your kid nickname if we spoke it. You were an insane human being, whether you ever did or didn't really smoke it. know that tall, thin, bent over stroll, all sunburnt and grim since 10 or 12 years old. I guess yesterday's gone faces still indent our soul, and I guess both our moms' places still on rent control. I was a twig, small, sad sack, punier guy. You was as big, tall, and bad back in junior high. No sight of someone's face has ever been scarier. You'd come chase me from Street Fighter 1 or Space Harrier. Hello again, Crackhead Ian. I still can't forget your foul face. My fellow human being, I know we're both still planted on St. Mark's Place. We've lived our poor lives in close parallel. Within these 4 or 5 blocks we both know so well. You must have grew up near the theater or Old Gross Hotel. I'm sure you're aware of me here, but oh, I can't tell. It seems you never outgrew your little preteen rage. I still see you look so mean, though now we're middle-aged. I was eavesdropping last year at you laughing to tell about bashing some dude with a chair till he fell. I slipped fast by you, not wanting our eyes to touch, drifting past by new awnings that had all changed so much. I've never known your story, I'm sure it's rotten and tough, but how long before these roles for us have gotten old enough? You must have had it so rough, kid. Well, I wonder. Forged by a tiny portion of love or fortune, goes lightning or goes thunder. You're a bad one, Crackhead Ian, a sad son and sunburned pink. But of all the best kids seen downtown in our preteens, it's just you and me left now, I think. So how long until you notice? How long until you shake my hand? How long until we're old man neighbors, the last tribesmen of the vanished land? We never even did exchange names. You were an evil kid from Hades when we played these arcade games that made life great in the 80s. Me and Ian ride into the night of an East Village dream with those arcade games in the street and the heat, and me and Ian. You were throwing off sparks of pure power, sending signals from Mystery Tower. You didn't bother making sure it would sink in. It was a different way of working and thinking, really wild and completely expressive, so creative and intense and obsessive. You were practically completely beyond it, and you were exactly just what nobody wanted. You were conscious and responsive and present. You weren't trying to make something unpleasant. You were just bouncing off of things that were trashy, and it was never very tricky or flashy. You had a vision that was clear and directed, and the ways it worked were all unexpected. You were unbelievable and you were undaunted, and you were exactly just what nobody wanted. But to me it was so awesome, so awesome, so awesome. So awesome, so awesome, just awesome. It was like a focusing of what had been brewing. It did a thing that no one else had been doing. You worked small to see what made this or that tick, and you flipped it over so it all seemed galactic. It was crazy, but you really believed it. You gave it everything and lived it and breathed it. You made a space where all these good things collided, and it made approximately no one excited. It's hard to speak about the stuff you invented. It was unique in how it all got presented. It hit the mark and never stopped going forward. Out of a darkness with no signs and with no words. This beautiful language that was instant and brutal. And it made all the art around it seem futile. You did it well and you could even repeat it. And that was exactly just what nobody needed. But to me it was so awesome, so awesome, so awesome. You were so awesome, just awesome. A long time waiting and leaving, and that's a good weird faith to believe in. A mirror means step at an angle, where the light waves wiggle and tangle. So someone else had all your same concentration, they still couldn't reach your same destination. There's really something anywhere you look closely, but a lot of it can come or go mostly. But when something really cuts away the pretenses, when something really takes a swing for the fences, when something really knocks it out of the borders and rearranges all the usual orders, that's exactly what the track you were on did, and it was exactly just what nobody wanted. Absurd, cheated, flirted, and misheated. You were so perfectly what nobody needed. It pushed as far as you could make an idea go, and exactly made an impact of zero. And basically the public never responded. You were so amazingly what nobody wanted. I held on tight to every scrap that I took in. It was like it all happened when nobody was looking. But to me it was so awesome, so awesome, so awesome. You were so awesome, just awesome. Getting crooked every time. Someone find this magnet and unearth it. Find this gravity that pulls from purpose. When you take a secret to the grave, no one even knows that you were brave. But words only appear in certain orders, or no one listens anyway. It doesn't go that way, we don't know how to hear it, but we think it's what we don't know how to say. Eyes and ears are little threads, gagging on all unfamiliar notes, choking off all inorganic bits. Boxes are the size of what it fits. Sizes that are aliens to trust, sizes and the shapes made out of us. See, words only appear in certain orders, or no one listens anyway. It doesn't go that way, we don't know how to hear it, but we think it's what we don't know how to say. In the dark, aiming at a universal mark, so randomly a piece of what you mean is connected into everything I've seen. Anyone can do it just as well. It doesn't help as far as I can tell, and kindness only works in certain orders, where no one does it anyway. It doesn't go that way, and thoughts only appear in certain orders, or no one thinks them anyway. It doesn't go that way, and words only appear in certain orders, or no one listens anyway. It doesn't go that way, we don't know how to they hear it, but we think it, so we don't know how to sing. I'll try showing you guys one of my short films.
Yeah.
Let's see if this works out here. I've made a lot of these things. Well, I make comic books, and then I try to do these things that I think of as low budget films that are sort of like comic books that I do at the gigs, but they're basically super low budget films, extremely low budget.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it'd be better if let's see it. All right, extra cinematic. As I wandered across the land, one Sunday I found a hand lying in a cornfield in a tangle. As red as the devil's it was, but it was severed, its crimson fingers stiff as if with anger. I kicked it with my toe, and it sprang to life, you know. It crawled like a red spider a few inches. It pointed to the east, as if to say, take me there, please. But I thought, don't pick it up, what if it pinches? So I grabbed it in a net from as far away as I could get. And off to the east we went, me and this creature. And when a road came into sight, its thumb went up and hitched a ride on a school bus full of Sunday school nun teachers. But when they got a closer look, they all grasped their holy books and said, that hand is obviously Satan's. So before we lost our lift, I implored them all like this. The hand is red, but what you said is quite mistaken. This is just a case of finding a new species unknown to science. To just crush it or to kill it would be stupid. But up one old hag thundered and said since I was outnumbered, the hand would have to die and she would do it. Down came her heavy book, and blam, the hand was squished, like a giant cockroach and totally disgusting. Just like it was spring-loaded, bones, knuckles, and gunk exploded, and they all clapped at this supposed act of justice. But just then there came a fuss from the driver of the bus, and we screeched to a dusty stop right there and then. And when the dust had cleared, we sobbed to see a monster like a blob. How many arms had it? 11, and hands 10. What happened next I won't replay, but suffice it all to say, when it was done, the beast and I alone were left to stand. It took a bus seat from the junk and attached it to its stump, so I'd become, excuse the pun, its hired hand. And the pay was pretty sweet. I had a house and food to eat, and all I had to do was help it murder people. Man, I've already dropped 3 picks tonight. How is that possible? Just one of those days. when you're by yourself in the kitchen, what's the point of all that shopping and cooking? Sitting and eating and cleaning, so much to do just to eat by yourself. And when you're by yourself in a restaurant, and you take off your backpack and your jacket, you put them on the seat next to you when you're by yourself, when you're by yourself. And when you get up to go to the bathroom, you can't leave your stuff, you have to take it. You have to take your backpack and your jacket with you in the bathroom of the restaurant when you're by yourself. And the waitress sees you get up. She sees you take your backpack and your jacket. You have to tell her you're just going to the bathroom. You're not dashing out, it's just that you're by yourself. And she asks if you're finished with that plate. And she says you can leave your stuff here. You say it's okay, 'cause you've already got it. And you say leave that, I might still eat a little more. And when you're by yourself, walking after, and you could go home or you could keep walking, there's no reason not to keep walking. There's no reason when you're by yourself.
Mood. Big mood.
There's that old store, my regular spot. Sometimes I go there, other times not. It's been there so long, that's just the way that it is. I don't want to think that it could go out of biz. I don't want to go there, 'cause it might be the last time. I just want it to be there if I happen to pass by. That's what makes it good, that's what makes it okay. When I don't have to work or stress to just make it stay. I don't want it to be there 'cause I fought or demanded. I just want to love it and to take it for granted. I never felt charming and it always felt unfair. Then we met at a concert or a party or somewhere. Soon I don't know whose house is where my gray hooded shirt is. 'Cause I guess that we're dating or whatever the word is. And I'm glad when we're eating and discussing our plans. And already we'll be hanging out next week in advance. That's what makes us relax, that's what makes it a life. When you don't have to worry about these things every night. It's not a very good fire if it just stays when you fanned it. What's the point if we can't just take each other for granted? But maybe they'll scratch. I've got this apartment that could burn into ash. I've got this old car, but it could fly off the road. I've got these two eyeballs, but they both might explode. I've got all my limbs, but will I have them forever? I've got fingers here that any random door hinge could sever. But the building that's standing trumps the bricks it stood up with. And the families still living are the ones to put up with. 'Cause you can put down a blanket anywhere on this planet, but you'll become very anxious unless you take it for granted. The world is so fragile, every moment's enchanted. But it's all a sad battle if I can't take it for granted. I just want to love it and to take it for granted. My girlfriend doesn't worry about the things that always trouble me. She says, why are you so grumpy? Let's just both sit here quiet and calmly. And you probably should be thinking first about how glad you'll be if you do some work and about our relationship. My girlfriend doesn't worry about the vision Mao Zedong had for China. Was agrarian reform for the better? Or is cynicism part of our culture? Why did people fight and die for their freedom? Was utopia a lie as a concept? Is the Western model really our future? Is there nothing any better to work towards? And is progress only science in action? Does it truly have a moral dimension? Was the century a dream before failure? Have we settled for this present existence? Was it only necessary for peasants? Would I really give up ego involvement? Is there any global movement for justice in a world of only selfish survival? Because it's obvious we're going to serfdom if we accept the barbarity of the system. But would I really want to work in a factory? Would I really make my art for a leader? Would Mao be into some of our music? Or is everything just horror and power? These are massive, giant, trouble-consuming thoughts saturating my thinking. But I think that she'll just think I'm annoying, so I won't bring it up. She says that doesn't make any sense. You should just think about your art and your friends and about our relationship. My girlfriend doesn't question the psychology of Charles Manson. What does it say about the human condition? Why are people so receptive to listen? Why is confidence alone such a magnet? And it's unfair the way that some people have it, and they seem to do the things that they want to. We all just get away with all that we can do because it's only sexiness that has any value, and all society just falls by the wayside into the hierarchy of cults and of harems, and it's genetics to be masters of victims. And does hedonism go with corruption? Why are we drawn to dramas of domination? These are massive, giant, trouble-consuming thoughts that I'm thinking, but I think that she'll just think it's annoying, so I don't bring it up. She says, why are you thinking of him? You should just think about your family and friends and about our relationship. My girlfriend doesn't wonder while driving about the emptiness of human existence. How can we make any decision if it's only arbitrary opinions? And why should anyone have a baby, create another brain of dissatisfaction, if we are only biological robots with a program to just mostly feel anxious, except for moments of brief distraction while being fulfilling simple functions like eating, while being ordered to enjoy reproducing? But how can doing what you're told be fulfilling? All is misery or patent delusions to just fill ourselves with comforting nonsense, all terrified of seeing it clearly and then dying out with no resolution, all tumbling down a mountain to nothing while feeling greedy and mean and unhappy. Basically a meaningless fungus, obviously boring and pointless, and we'll probably have a baby despite this and be responsible for someone's confusion. Why subject them to a long life of work, or feel horrible if they should die young, or feel horrible if we die and leave them? The only happiness is if something's funny, but what does funniness even mean? These are massive, giant, troubling burdens weighing on my thinking, but I think that she'll just think it's annoying and I don't want to lose her. She says, why are you talking so much? How come you never talk about us? Let's just think quiet and nice thoughts and about our relationship. This next song is called Depression, exclamation point, despair, exclamation point. Leeway to be falling too behind, and there's a lot of little warning moments in the corners of my mind, and there's a lot of things I need to work with, no margin of error. So the only thing I see ahead is entropy and terror.
Depression, despair, I'll see you there. Depression, despair, I'll see you there.
And the list of your convictions is an old outdated loop, and then you see the other angle where your concepts all look stupid, and you see your broken certainties from all the stuff the newest, and the things that seem the worst are all the things that seem the truest.
Depression, despair, I'll see you there. Depression, despair, I'll see you there. The sun is always shining on rocks in the dark. The rocks are always flying and breaking apart. The sun is always shining on rocks in the dark. The rocks are always flying and breaking apart.
Relationships are worthless if it's not like his or hers, and plus my body isn't perfect and each day it's getting worse. And now the culture these new kids are into's not made for you, is it? The stuff you used to love looks worse each time that you revisit.
Depression, despair, I'll see you there. Depression, despair, I'll see you there.
And the things you want to do are not the ways where you excel, and even factors in your favor have all wavered straight to hell, until the place you thought you held to dig your heels in here at least is sliding helpless to the cliff as if the safety brake were released.
Depression, despair, I'll see you there. Depression, despair, I'll see you there. The sun is always shining on rocks in the dark. The rocks are always flying and breaking apart. The sun is always shining on rocks in the dark. The rocks are always flying and breaking apart.
Highway to get here from where you started, and the ending's out of reach, and then you're broke or broken-hearted like a flower losing petals. As the challenge gets more devious, you always have to settle for a little less than previous.
Depression, despair, I'll see you there. Depression, despair, I'll see you there.
And the garbage pile's higher, and the relatives are older, and the papers to be filed are exploding from the folder. And you thought that being shy meant just be guy who just needs work, but you're quiet and you're awkward and you're also still a jerk.
Depression, despair, I'll see you there. Depression, despair, I'll see you there. The sun is always shining on rocks in the dark. The rocks are always flying and breaking apart. The sun is always shining on rocks in the dark. The rocks are always flying and breaking apart.
And it isn't even obvious to take it on the chin when all the ocean is anonymously shaking in the wind into a million new directions every time you get a bearing, pulling you and your reflection underwater in the air. It's
Depression, despair, I'll see you there. Depression, despair, I'll see you there.
Horrible comparisons of history unfolded. If miraculous humanity is really as they told it, if we're defiantly proceeding to amaze we feared and hated, I'm just deciding on an eating point in case we're separated. It's
Depression, despair, I'll see you there. Depression, despair, I'll see you there. The sun is always shining on rocks in the dark. The rocks are always flying and breaking apart. The sun is always shining on rocks in the dark. The rocks are always flying and breaking apart.
I know it was just record store day pretty recently, last weekend. This next song is about records. This is about my lifelong obsession with buying music, and it's about how sort of a cheap classic rock used records were my kind of gateway drug to a lifetime of music addiction. I don't know how it started. I suppose it was about the 10th grade. I had never bought much music. I just listened to whatever was played. But there was classic rock there on the radio, and it was blowing my mind. It was all the records no one wanted now, so they were easy to find. So I started getting LPs, they only cost a little, and these LPs were all the ones I needed from the 60s, with psychedelic art on all the great sleeves, much cooler and much cheaper than the CDs, and that's the way I caught the disease.
I caught the disease for LPs. There wasn't any internet, a lot of times you just took a shot. Pretty soon you figured out which records would be awesome or not. If the year was from the 60s, it was probably good bang for your buck. If the year was from the 80s, it was guaranteed to totally suck. I started learning about the LPs. At that time, education just cost low fees. $3 for the Dylan record, oh yes please. And the Cream and Rolling Stones and our load of threes. A giant treasure trove was all for pennies. And that's the way I caught the disease. I caught the disease for LPs. By 1994, I had completed all my Zeppelin and Floyd. Zeppelin and Floyd. I had all the early traffic, but their later stuff just made me annoyed. You realize that the radio just scratches at the top of the dirt. Top of the dirt. When $4 can buy you Crown of Creation with the lyric insert. So I had a lot of LPs. My friends were mostly clueless. It was just me in an ocean of cheap vinyl like the Black Sea. I hardly had an income, but it was easy. An awesome world awaited with a cheap key. And sometimes in the garbage they were just free. And that's the way I caught the disease. I caught the disease for LPs. And then the 90s ended and I wasn't no teenager no more. But I started getting shakes if I was passing any used record store. I got the finger muscles you develop when you flip through a stack. Crate digging for the cheap and obscure, and there was no turning back. A total junkie for the LPs, and nothing in the world was gonna help me. You'd see me quit no sooner than see hell freeze. And there was nothing like the thrill of getting lucky. I'd be flying 5 sheets in the breeze. Cause the world was still watching LPs. And I still have the disease release. Nowadays, that stuff is so expensive, I don't bother to try. Everything's reissued, and plus everything is priced really high. The field is overcrowded, it's impossible to get a good fix. So I walk right past the records, and I flip through all the used compact discs. Yet nowadays it's mostly CDs. No one wants to keep them, so there's plenty. Folk and punk and private press and rap and indie. Bonus tracks and liner notes are just empty. As long as I can still make a good discovery, I've still got that to conquer disease. That disease that I got from LPs. They were so cheap in the 1990s. People don't want, that's the time to get it. Take a chance on something, it might blow your mind. And if it's cheap, there's less chance you'll regret it. Though I'm drowning in my stacks because of all the stupid albums I used to try. Nowadays, looking back, I just regret the ones I didn't buy. Well, I wonder, do you think everybody could sit down maybe? I feel like this one might feel bad for the people in the back. Well, this is part of my long documentary film series. This is part of my history of communism. I have 9 chapters. This is the complete history of communism documentary, chapter 6, the story of Vietnam. East of Thailand, south of China, is the country called Vietnam. They fought for centuries to free themselves from the Chinese. They wanted independence for so long. They were free 900 years, then there came a time of tears when Vietnam was conquered by the French. Made to slave in French plantations under Western exploitations that they have not forgotten ever since. A student there called Ho left his Vietnam to go become a cook for European sailors. He lived in Harlem, London, and France, and he got a first-hand chance to see the Western world's successes and failures. After World War I's collapse, when the world redrew its maps at the treaty meeting in Versailles, Ho attended pleading they give Vietnam its freedom, but they wouldn't even let him try. Ho knew the USA had been a colony one day, and he admired the way we had fought before him, but he saw now only communism stood up for colonies' freedoms, while the capitalist world just ignored them. So Ho began communist studies and recruited other buddies. He wrote articles that reached back home. He kept organizing on the move until the chances might improve to get the French to leave poor Vietnam alone. And then in World War II's events, when the Nazis beat the French, France's colonies were taken by Japan. So Ho returned to Vietnam after decades being gone. It was time to fight for real, not just to plan. Now organizing from within, with his new name, Ho Chi Minh, independence forces started growing faster. And then when World War II wrapped up and the Japanese were crushed, Vietnam at last had no more foreign master. So Ho Chi Minh declared a new free country then and there, quoting America's words of independence. But they had hardly settled down before the French came back around, and they wanted their old colony back with a vengeance. And so began an 8-year war the world had never seen before, a tiny colony against a big Western nation. And the USA, for shame, loved independence just in name. We funded France to fight this liberation. Why? Because in 1949 the communists had won in China, so the US wanted Europeans in control there. Vietnam now had the challenge of being right between the balance of big forces all trying to have a hold there. Then, unbelievable but true, in '54 at Dien Bien Phu, France was beaten. Vietnam was free in triumph. The guy in charge on France's side even committed suicide when he realized little David really beat Goliath. But the powers in the West would only compromise at best. We said, okay, Vietnam can have its own elections, but you have to wait 2 years, and right now, to calm our fears, we'll cut the country in 2 temporary sections. Communists can have Hanoi, but the US will employ this corrupt guy named Diem to run Saigon. But if the voting had gone forth, it would have won things for the North, so Diem never let the vote go on. And so began the Southern struggle, communist Viet Cong rebels trying to defeat their Southern leader. And the North helped them a lot, but when Diem did get shot, it was by his own army, because they didn't like him either. The US was desperate for a reason now to send our big armies in, so we claimed we had been attacked in Tonkin Gulf. And the guy in charge of these naval wars was the dad of Jim Morrison of the Doors. That's true, and that's how the US got more engulfed. But if they're communists, who cares? Why are we even there? Those crazy questions nagged at the US. While meanwhile, the communists repeated the same way France had been defeated, a total commitment to fighting off the West. And so, when Ho Chi Minh was dying in 1969, he knew US involvement soon would break. And the US did agree to withdraw troops in '73 with only death and devastation in its wake. Had Ho fought to free his land or just for some communist agenda? Either way, the South was beat, the land united, and communistic land reform kept upheavals going on with landlords killed and properties all redivided. But by 1986, the policies began to switch to incorporate more Western economics. So now, sort of like China, it's a mix of East and Western politics, but with this violent weight of history upon it. And that brings us up to Complete History of Communism Part 7, the story of Cuba. But not tonight. Thank you guys so much for coming out on a Day. Thanks to Bob Blah Blah so much, and also to Like a Manatee. And to Tessa for running sound, and Maggie for helping put this whole thing together. It's a great space here. We're so privileged to be able to be a part of this and see a cool place like this. And when I first came in here, I was like checking out the whole place and all the stuff, and then I like accidentally totally stepped on some art that was like on display on the floor. So that was like a lame way for me to make my presence known. The Communications Art and Performance Space. All right, we'll do a couple more. Thank you guys. Let's see. Well, we're playing in Milwaukee tomorrow, so that's like the shortest drive of the tour. What is that, like an hour and a half or something?
Yeah.
So we get to actually check out Madison tomorrow, maybe. That's kind of a first. What do you recommend? Maybe we can, well, I don't know, talk to us afterwards. Tell us some stuff we should see. Like an arrow, baby in a wheelbarrow, swing with the wind blows, static on the radio now. Bats eat fireflies, look at how the time flies, baby in a wheelbarrow, static on the radio now. Stayed up all night looking at the moonlight, saw another bat fly and the firefly died. No more grapes left, no more tapes left, no more time left, no more space left. Think the DJ left his booth, I'm staring at the roof, and there's static on the radio now. Like an arrow, I'll be a man tomorrow. The world is quiet, there's a rainbow on the TV now. I will stay awake, the tooth fairy won't take all my teeth away. A rainbow on the TV now. Take my teeth to the cemetery, don't walk up the spiral stairway. Monkeys and babies are scary, my mom is not the tooth fairy. Think the DJ left his booth, I'm staring at the roof, and there's static on the radio now. Ladies, bats and babies, there are no babes and wheelbarrows due to Is it Monday or Friday? I'm not sure without you. All the days go by in such a boring blur without you. I hit the snooze 10 times before I stir without you. I get up but I can't recall what for without you. And the houseplants aren't doing very well without you. The recycling's starting to pile up and smell without you. My sense of up or down goes straight to hell without you. Now's the time to go back to bed yet, I can't tell without you. And there's food I bought that I don't bother eating without you. And in the garbage go the groceries I'm not eating without you. I got an old half cup of coffee I'm reheating without you. I don't go out but there's no one I'm needing without you. And there's no way I spray the shower curtain crimes without you. Why try to rid the kitchen sink of slimes without you? Why stop that lousy cockroach while he climbs without you? I still can't finish Friday's crossword in the Times without you. She's out of town. She's out of town. She's out of town. Visiting her mother. And I tell a joke, but don't nobody laugh without you. Because I'm like a tall tree with no giraffe without you. My self-worth has dropped so low it's off the graph without you. And it's only been 1 weekday and a half without you. So is it Friday or Monday? I'm not sure without you. All the days go by in such a boring blur without you. I hit the snooze 10 times before I stir without you. I get up but I can't recall what for without you. She's out of town. She's out of town. She's out of town. Visiting her mother. This will be our last song. Thank you guys for being here. I would like to say that some people in a time of crisis ask themselves W.W.P.R.D for what would Jesus do? But I often find myself asking W.W.P.R.D for what would Pussy Riot do? Because Pussy Riot went to prison just to make some people listen.
They said church and state's corrupt. Must be true because they were locked up.
Before you lose democracy, you ask yourself and I'll ask me. W.W.P.R.D.
W.W.P.R.D. put in jail for 2 years each just for punk rock public speech.
What is this, the Middle Ages? Why did they put them in those cages?
Before you choose complacency, you ask yourself and I'll ask me.
W.W.P.R.D.
W.W.P.R.D.
Minds can open in a flash when hit by art or hit by cash.
Money wins is like it's not. Imagination's all we've got.
So let's just have the decency for you to ask yourself and I'll ask me. W.W.P.R.D.
W.W.P.R.D. Because progress is not guaranteed. I say this kind of right is what we need.
This ain't the old Red Army faction. This is bold, non-violent action.
Change the world, the biggest hint is art is really what convinces.
That's why they always try to buy it, but they couldn't buy off Pussy Riot.
So when you see bands on TV, you ask yourself and I'll ask me.
W.W.P.R.D.
W.W.P.R.D. Hey, there's Anne Maria and your other friends you got on free. We might not share all your beliefs. We might even have some beefs.
But some things are just undisputed.
You're so brave to do what you did.
No drums, bass, or mic or amp.
2 years in 2 prison camps.
Those women are my heroes, and the world needs punk rock heroes.
Dancing, rock and roll and yelling, hand in hand with real rebellion. spelling.
Bands who break the walls with speakers, not just try to sell you sneakers.
You want bands who want to sell you things or bands who want to tell you things?
Before you don't say what you see, you ask yourself and I'll ask me. W.W.P.R.D.
W.W.P.R.D.
Just put the guy who went to prison just to make some people listen.
Tried for 7, gave them 2 for what they had the guts to do.
Minds can open in class, hit by art or hit by cash.
Money wins, just like it's not. Imagination's all we've got.
So let's just have a decent scene. You ask yourself and I'll ask me. W.W.P.R.D.
W.W.P.R.D. Because isn't culture all we know to fight against the status quo?
So what's the scoop here in the States where culture just collaborates?
When I see Beck sell cars,
Or I see Best Coast selling booze.
all this so-called counterculture offers no better world for us to choose.
A better world to live in, not the same one that we're given. Better speeches.
Better sparks, not just all leeches and sharks.
Art inspired.
Art inspires. Pussy Riot showed me why. Cause inspiration's still the one resource the 1% can't buy.
So listen, people.
Artist bands.
Before you get close with those brands.
Before you think it's cool to go record free with Converse Studio.
Before South by Southwest showcases with free Ray-Bans on your faces.
Before you think doing TV ads expects exposure your band had.
Just think how much strength you win them. Every slight way you progress them, you're the power.
You're the biz. The world is what you say it is.
The art you
The
make.
things you say define what is or ain't okay.
Not shoes or soda.
You're the star. You define what values are.
I know you need to eat, so screw
Just
it.
ask yourself before you do it.
Why they give these things to you? No strings attached, that's so untrue.
No strings attached, that's so naive. You're shaping what we all believe.
When's the last time you said one thing that's strange to meaning something?
You say that things look so unbalanced.
Each day that we sell short our talent.
You say our stars get cheap to bits and used for corporate benefits.
Each day I still don't have a clue.
You say I still don't have a clue. At least somewhere out in the world, some artists they still can't live up to.
They might be far between and few.
It might be sad, it might be
At
true.
least I can ask me if you can ask you.
What would Pussy Riot do?
We've got some comic books and CDs and records and shirts and zines and plenty of stuff out there. We'll be hanging out for a bit. Like a manatee, do you guys have any stuff? No. What about Bob? I don't know. I didn't.
I got some stuff.
Awesome. Well, we'll all be over there with our stuff. This goes out to Bob and Like a Manatee and anybody who might be in a band or any sort of performance situation. After you've been performing for a few years, you may find yourself encountering some of these situations. You bought me a brew once in 2002. You did a favor for me, and so I did one for you. Yeah, I put you on the guest list, then I did it on 2 other occasions. But when you asked the 4th time, maybe that's the statute of limitations. Yeah, I slept on your floor once in 2004. Now you still get free tickets every time that I tour. Yeah, I'll put you on the guest list. I was grateful for that sleeping location. But it's the 5th year in a row, so what's the statute of limitations? Well, it's easy to say when things are going your way that you don't owe nobody nothing from way back in the day, but you should put them on the guest list. If they ask, say yes with no hesitation. But when it's been a bunch of years, there's got to be a statute of limitations. Because when a band's on the road, they get into this mode. If you help us, we guest list you. It's an unspoken code, so it's really not a question. We can get you in the concert for free. But some people think one favor gets them on the guest list eternally. And I'm not famous yet, and so I'm always in debt for all the favors I ask, and it's not right to forget, so you should put them on the guest list. If they ask, say yes with warmth and a smile. But if they really liked my band, you'd think they'd buy a ticket once in a while. And
someone gave me a kiss once in 2006. And when I play that town again, she asked to be on the list. Yeah, of course she's on the guest list. It's basically the least expectation. But after 10 years of this, that's when she kissed the statute of limitations. Well, you know I'd be eager, but I'm just not a big leaguer with a guest list too big. My ticket sales get too meager, and it wouldn't be so bad if you would help us out again and again, kid. But you had only helped us once, and then your privileges got overextended. Well, she's so pretty and sweet, and she took pity on me. She let me sleep in her arms, and so I let her in free. Yeah, of course, she's on the guest list. That isn't such a big obligation. But now I've been in a long relationship, so what's the statute of limitations? Yeah. Well, I couldn't exist without your favors like this. I'm lucky you even care enough to want to be on the list. So you're all on the guest list for feeding us or putting up flyers. But when it gets too out of hand, it's either the statute or the band that expires. Because when a band's on the road, they get into this mode. If you help us, we guest list you. It's an unspoken code, so it's really not a question. It can get you in the concert for free. But some people think one favor gets them on the guest list eternally. Life is a story, don't you down. Bad times give you something to talk about. The next time you feel you're all worn out, remember life is a story, don't you doubt. It only takes a day for everything to turn around. Love is the story they tell to you, but the way they tell it ain't quite true. You'll wake up one day and you're 22, you'll know love was just a story they told to you. Love takes a lot of work like everything else you're gonna do. And school is the place where I did my growing. They fill your brain to overflowing. They tell you this is all stuff you need to be knowing. School is the place where I did my growing. Just when I got to like it, it was time to be going. And friends are just the people that you can talk with. Some could talk about that, some could talk about this. But everyone changes and forever is a myth. Friends are just the people that you can talk with. A lot of them will leave, but only a few you're gonna miss. And the world's the place where it all happens. We draw lines on it and call it a nap. Between every line's a different flag flapping. The world's the place where it all happens. 7 billion people all taking turns eating and napping. And animals are critters just like you and me. The only difference is that they don't worry about things that they can't smell or see. Animals are critters just like you or me. So we buy pants and deodorants and claim not to be. And songs are just something to waste your time. I listen to yours and you listen to mine. And before we know it, the day is gone by. Songs are just something to waste your time. But so is everything else, so do whatever makes you feel fine. And God's just a story someone made up long ago, before they had books and TV shows. I don't believe in him and I ain't afraid to say so. I know God's just a story someone made up long ago. But it's hard not to be superstitious despite all you know. And everyone's born and everyone dies. Everyone who has the time wonders why. The ocean is blue and so is the sky. Everyone's born and everyone dies. An old lady sighs and a new baby cries. And kisses are weird, but they can be fun. Instead of shaking hands, it's like shaking tongues. I wish I got to do it more when I was young. Kisses are weird, but they can be fun. I hate going months and months without kissing anyone. And dreams are weird, but they can be fun too. They happen more often than kisses, it's true. And some I was naked and in some I flew. Dreams are weird, but they can be fun too. I wonder if you're dreaming about me when I'm dreaming about you. And now that you've heard everything I've said, and there ain't nothing new inside your head, if you wanna disregard it all, go ahead. Now that you've heard everything I've said, there's probably one or two things you could have been doing instead. And life is a story, don't you doubt. Bad times give you something to talk about. The next time you feel you're all worn out, remember life is a story, don't you doubt. It only takes a day for everything to turn around. Good night.